Witnesses na presente ninyo sa ilalim ng Artikulo 7. Yun na ba ang pinakahuli ninyo?
Your Honor,
Wala na ho kayo representa.
with your indulgence, the lead prosecutor wants to speak po.
Magandang hapon po, Ginoong Pangulo.
Magandang hapon.
Doon sa tanong na ating kagalang
Maayong hapon.
Maayong hapon, Mr. Senate President. Doon sa tanong ng ating kagalang-galang na senador, kung ilang witnesses pang sa Article 7, ito na po yung huling witness sa Article 7 na subject to cross by the defense.
Kasi nagtataka lang ako dahil marami kayo sinulat. Halos lahat yung mga witnesses nyo sa taga-ABS-CBN. Isa lang, taga-ABS-CBN lang ba kumuha ng mga video? Kasi meron kayo nakalista rito, Miss Lia Manyalak, taga-GMA7. Marlon Ramos, taga-Inquirer. Mark Meruenas, taga-GMA News. Hindi niya sila representa.
Hindi na po, corroborative na lang po yung sa kanila. At we decided that yung witness, Mr. Sino na? Lasala? Mr. Lasala, sila na, yun na yung last witness for the prosecution doon sa Article 7.
Okay, huling katanungan lang po, Ginoong Congressman. Pagkatapos nitong Article 7, itutuloy niyo pa ba sa ibang artikulo? O tapos na tayo lahat? We will wait for the defense to present their evidence. Are we done?
Gusto ko po mag-manifest mamaya-maya doon eh.
Inuunahan lang kita?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The gentleman from Pampanga.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, with the earlier manifestation of Congressman Colmenares regarding the developments in the Supreme Court, as well as the confirmation of our clerk of court and our secretary, it is in effect, Mr. President, the Supreme Court has made it known to us that they will refuse to honor or refuse to comply with the subpoena of this court, Mr. President.
That's correct.
And I think, Mr. President, this is a serious development. If we take it in the context of, first, we debated and discussed the issue of the TRO on the dollar accounts, saying then, I mean, a number of us felt that the Supreme Court had no jurisdiction, and we continue to assert that by way of having filed our answer or our position before the Supreme Court. So after the TRO of our subpoena, Mr. President, on the dollar accounts, we now have this, the refusal of the Supreme Court to honor or comply with the subpoena. My concern, Mr. President, is that what happens next as we go through this trial? What other orders or rulings will the Supreme Court undertake, thereby whittling away, Mr. President, the powers of this impeachment court? I don't have the answers today, Mr. President. I'm not asking for a position to be taken by the impeachment court today, Mr. President. But I think just as we deliberated and voted on the issue of whether or not to honor the TRO, I think we should deliberate and perhaps vote on the issue of whether or not we will accept the Supreme Court's refusal to comply with or honor our subpoena, Mr. President. This is.
Yeah, go ahead.
And perhaps during a caucus we can discuss this maybe on Monday or some other time, Mr. President. But I fear, Mr. President, that unless we assert the primacy and supremacy of the impeachment court in impeachment proceedings, Mr. President, we might find ourselves in a joint venture or joint undertaking with the Supreme Court in terms of impeachment proceedings. And therefore, the sole power, Mr. President, to try and decide impeachment cases becomes fiction, Mr. President. This is my fear.
All right.
For the record, Mr. President.
Why the chair would like to clarify because all these things might create a wrong impression to the public mind. And to be fair to this court, to be fair to our people, and to be fair to everybody, this chair would like to humbly state for the record that the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction over the trial and decision that this Senate will make in this case. That is not indicated by the action of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the guardian of the Constitution. They know that the sovereign people of this country repose to this Senate the sole power to try and decide this case. The Supreme Court cannot decide it. What happened was that we issued a subpoena, and the internal rules of the Supreme Court, which is a co-equal, separate, independent, and coordinate department with us, says we have our own internal rules on this matter, and we do not allow our justices, judges, and employees to be subpoenaed by the impeachment court. That is another matter. It does not deprive us of jurisdiction to try and decide this case. In the same manner that, if you remember, when we had the problem when the Senate had a problem with Malacanang in connection with some investigation being conducted by this Senate in one of its committees, the palace invoked its executive privilege by preventing the members of the palace staff, including the members of the bureaucracy and the military, from testifying in that particular investigation. And it was the Supreme Court who said, yes, the executive has an executive privilege, but only up to a certain respect and in the manner they defined as to how it could be invoked. And we continued with the hearing, exercising our own jurisdiction over the matter which was the subject matter of the committee hearing at the time. That is the same situation here, isn't it? No, they're not impeding us from continuing with the trial and decision on this case. We can decide this case even without those witnesses coming from the Supreme Court, based on the evidence we have at hand. The gentleman from Iloilo.
Mr. President, considering the very sensitive nature of this issue, may I move that we discuss this in our next caucus rather than in open court, if that is in order?
Well, it was started by a member.
We know, Mr. President.
Yeah.
We know.
What is the pleasure of the House?
We can take it up, Mr. President, on Monday at 12 noon.
All right. We will. The members of the court will not discuss this any further. We will hold it under advisement, and we will discuss it in the caucus on Monday.
There is still one more question from a member of the court, Mr. President, Senator Loren Legarda.
The gentle lady from Antique, Malabon, Manila, and the Republic of the Philippines. Senator Legarda.
Panay and Laguna, Mr.
Panay, Laguna,
and the Philippines.
and the Philippines.
Thank you, Mr. President. Napakaikling point of clarification lang po sa prosecution. Perhaps more particular to the person in the transcript, is there a Mr. Pareño who said it yesterday?
Yes,
Yes.
Private prosecutor.
Maski sino po, pero dahil ito po ay sa statements ni Mr. Pareño, tungkol lang po sa 2 araw na natin pinapanood na mga video na pinapanood niyo po sa amin. Gusto ko lang po malaman, Mr. Pareño, anong oras ba ang business hours ng Korte Suprema?
Your Honor, sa akin pong pagkaalam hanggang 4:30 p.m. po sila.
Can you verify? Understand it is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Official office hours is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Usually, Your Honor, when we're trying to file at 4:30, it is closed.
Yes.
But we will verify that, Your Honor.
Yes. We want to establish the office hours, and I wish you would answer me with not usually, because we want to establish a fact, not what is usual practice.
Yes, Your Honor. We will submit a manifestation to that effect.
No, I
that
don't
complies.
need to. You don't have to labor with a manifestation. Just give me the answer now. You can just call, and you should have had that information because you
Yes.
discussed that for 2 days.
Yes, Your Honor. You're correct, Your Honor. It's 8 to 5 officially.
That's why do not rely on usual. You should rely on what is a factual basis. Because my questions are so simple, I just want to understand, dahil 2 araw nyo pinapanood sa amin yung video. Because yesterday, you established, based on the transcript, the rationale for showing us the video. Isa po sa inyong sinabi, ang kadahilanan ng video yan, in your own words, para patunayan, tinatagalog ko na lang, na yung respondent ay ginamit ang kanyang puwersa para i-extend ang panahon ng office hours sa Korte Suprema para makapagbayad ng cash bond para mag-grant yung TRO. That is on page 27 of the transcript. Tinagalog ko yung English na transcript. Kung 8 to 5 po ang opisina ng Korte Suprema, sinabi naman nyo sa page 33 ng transcript sa pagtatanong ng presiding officer na yung pagbibigay ng bayad ay nangyari ng 4:15 base sa third video. Ako po'y nalilito dahil ano po ang kasaysayan ng inyong pagpakita ng video kung ito naman po ay sakop ng panahon na may business hours. Dahil ang gusto ko pong sanang napatunayan nyo at nakumbinsi kami na talagang in-stretch ang panahon na ginamit ang puwersa ng respondent para nga mabigay itong cash bond na ito outside of the regular office hours. Because you have 2 contradictory statements unless I do not understand the transcript. Can you just clarify, please?
Yes, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, at around 4 p.m. or 4:15, which was shown by the video 3 that we presented, the messenger and Attorney Topacio were attempting to pay. During
Please,
the time.
just answer my question. Kayo po ang nagsabi, it happened at around 4:15, according to the watch. That is your answer to the presiding officer yesterday.
Yes, Your Honor.
4:15.
Opo.
And I asked you, the office hours of the Supreme Court is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So may I know what you meant by office hours were stretched?
Your Honor, actually what happened at 4:15 based on our investigation was that the messenger attempted to pay. But afterwards, the cashier asked them for a copy of the resolution. So based actually on the records that we received, the payment was, the certification of payment was given on the next day, November 16. So as of 6:03, as of posting time at 6:03, Your Honor, Attorney Topacio has yet to secure a copy of the resolution. So the payment was not actually made at around 4:15, but afterwards. And also, Your Honor, to prove the extension of hours, there are other incidents as well, not only the payment of the bond, but actually also, Your Honor, the submission of the affidavits, or I mean the special power of attorneys.
Let's
were not submitted.
clarify. The presiding officer asked, the third video was at 4 o'clock. You said